Tripathi, the head of the department, who welcomed us all, Professor Kavakoti, the director of the IIT Madras, Dr. Parvi and Maran Semiraj, the organizers of this conference, and the director, co-director of the Memory Studies Center, all of you delegates, ladies and gentlemen here, good morning and thank you for inviting me to participate in this event. I apologize first for the slight delay. Talking about memory, I have this short-term memory only when it comes to traffic, and I'm so used to being a minister and getting every place I want to go in 15 or 20 minutes that I had quite forgotten how bad this stretch can be. So I left my house at 9:15 for a 9:30 event, and I got here only at 9:45 or 9:50. So my memory is not deep enough on how bad the traffic conditions are. But first I must say that I'm very happy to note that an institution with such strong technical founding as IIT has such a wonderful humanities department overall, or a humanities school. And then within that humanities school, the memory studies department. I had a similar experience when I studied at MIT for a brief period and was amazed to learn of the quality of the social sciences work that was done at MIT, including a literature department actually, where if I look back at my academic courses across 4 degrees, 4 majors, 3 universities, probably the course that stands out in my memory is one called Literature, Ethics and Authority, the Sloan School. And we covered from the historic texts, from the Latin and the Greek, from other cultures, to, kind of the 12 Angry Men, I think the jury trial movie is called, about persuasion, about authority, about power, about application, about projection. I was immensely useful through the course of my career and continues to be today as a politician. So I think no good education can be complete without a good founding in the humanities, and it's very important, and I'm so happy to note that IIT focuses on the humanities as part of training otherwise brilliant technocrats. The director touched on 2 or 3 things that were very interesting to me. Actually, let me just take a step back. Normally, as a politician, we get invited to all kinds of functions. Mostly, we're not expected to speak that much. We're just expected to mark attendance and lend some, kind of credibility or stature to the event. And so, generally, I don't really plan what I'm going to speak. And I think you call it either lack of time or lack of discipline in my work, or, figuring anyway they've called me to be a figurehead, why should I really spend any time doing any preparing? So much of the time, I would say 99% of the time, including in the assembly, I just speak off the top of my head. Which it goes back to this notion of memory, right? In a lot of professions, certainly in politics, certainly in public life, having a relatively good memory, even in a digital age where there's infinite storage and infinite retrieval capacity, carrying it in your head and having a good mechanism for getting things in and out, I think, actually makes a difference. It's still a performance enhancer. But let me go back to the professor's point, to the director's point. We talked about, at some level, we are now in an age of universal memory. Right? There's so much common information, so easily available anytime to anybody. And of course, the first thing I would say out of that is that it greatly enhances the average kind of intellectual performance of any person, right? I mean, the need to remember, just like the calculator probably enhanced the mathematical performance of anybody, then the internet and its infinite capacity for storage and the efficiency of the search engines really make a fundamental, profound difference to the weighted average productivity or the weighted average knowledge base of population, of any population. So that's good. But just because that's true doesn't mean it's 100% efficient or 100% guaranteed. As the director pointed out, the engines of storage and retrieval, whether it's the software or the application or the program, I was just thinking back when I wrote my PhD, I started writing it in some specialized software that was called, I forget even what it was called, but every PhD student used to use the same one. It was called text font or something, I forget. And I think I was the first guy to write mine in Microsoft Word, and this was like 93 or 94. I had to change the early chapters, and when I finally finished it, I submitted to the print in Microsoft Word on a PC. Now, I'll tell you why that's a big deal. When I went to the US in 1987, there was no Windows, right? There was no mainframe still ran on punch cards. There was no internet. There was like BitNet and ARPANET and all that within the universities and so forth. And there was no universal format. And I think the first kind of Apple Macs were just about starting to come out, or somewhere around that. Because I think certainly the first IBM PC I saw was in 1981 or something. And it had RAM of 64K. And it had a hard drive of 20 megabytes. That was the size of the first PC I got. And I got it from the US in 1981. So anyway, now we live in an age of infinite external memory. But in addition to the mechanical process of storage and retrieval that the director talked about, I also thought it was very on point to talk about whether the format stays the same or the format changes, and also whether the actual storage device, the hardware, is capable of infinite life. I'm one of the guys driving hard for the digitization of all land records in the government of Tamil Nadu, so I certainly know the project that he's talking about. I remember signing the file. But 250 years is still not eternity, and there's some things that are supposed to last for eternity. So I suppose the only solution is that every 50 years or so, we'll have to canisterize, figure out the new storage technology and keep moving it. And that's something that I have to remember to go and write back into the project file, that there must be a component for that, though, I'll be long dead and gone by the time it needs to come about. In that sense, I had my own little period of study in cognition and cognitive psychology, and some component of that was memory. And I remember one theory that there's no such thing as forgetting, right? That whatever you take in is registered somewhere. The only question is, can you retrieve it in a finite amount of time? And then the difference between remembering and forgetting is how strong the links are in the network and how easily you can pull them back. And if that's the case, then I would say, clearly in terms of either association or just outright storage efficiency and retrieval efficiency, then there are many professions where any amount of external memory still doesn't work. So if you're a minister or an assemblyman sitting in the parliament, though we are trying to augment the memory, I think with Tamil Nadu maybe first or second, maybe, but within the top three, where we have instituted a computer on every MLA's desk, and we are slowly building into that the database going back to the inception of the Madras Presidency's Legislative Council in 1921. Every single debate, every bill, every budget, so that in real time MLAs can actually extract and question the government or input into the debate what has happened in the past. Because right now the fact is that if you had to rely on your internal memory, 99% of us don't know enough to really add value to the debate fully. In some sense, the speaker was making fun of me when I said that this was a priority project for me, and we started implementing it last year, and we've kept on adding, and now we're going. Meaning, from last year onwards, every single piece of statement, company report, anything that's tabled in the House, plus the budget, plus all the bills, plus everything is already the agenda, the minutes, the proceedings is all on the desktop. I mean, it's on a server and then it comes to the screen. But we're now going back. And when I told the speaker it was my priority to do that, he said, "Why do you want to give up your advantage? Very few people like you can remember enough to actually add to the debate. You're raising the average and lowering your uniqueness." But in a democracy, I think it's important that people are able to bring that kind of, what can I say, continuity or cross-validation to the debate. Otherwise, we feel like we're starting from fresh every time, and we're not able to progress, right? If we have to start from scratch every time, we want to build on what's already there rather than start from the base. So in that sense, I think conferences like these are hugely important. I would say that the universalization of external memory, and it's not quite universal yet because there's still not 100% universal access to everybody, but I would say the overwhelming majority, at least in a place like Tamil Nadu, where we have something like 75% of the population has a smartphone. And again, a lot of this stuff is, what can I say, counterbalancing or pro-cyclical in some sense. I've done a little bit of research because I used to be the head of the DMK IT wing. And there's a close correlation between how many Tamil Nadu users are there and how many companies make Tamil operating systems. Because you see, once you get on the internet, you can do a lot of other things. But the basic operating system of Android or your iPhone or your laptops and all that, not all languages equally are filtered into those commands and menus and stuff like that. And one of the reasons we have such high penetration in Tamil Nadu is that the combination of basic English education to almost any kid who goes to school in Tamil Nadu, plus the sheer weight that is in a state of 80 million people, so many people have access to this stuff that it becomes commercially viable and profitable to adapt things to a Tamil language. So we have this, kind of pro-cyclical move. So it's much more, in fact, in many channels, there are more Tamil content, money-making content videos than there are Hindi. Now just think about that. Think about the relative weight of Hindi speakers. Telugu is another language where there's this kind of network externality that comes in. But anyway, I digress. Even though the dream of universal unlimited memory externally still persists, I don't think we'll ever see an age in which the human memory can be 100% substituted or replicated, or the relative value of more efficient or a more comprehensive memory can be negated. So in that context, I know this series of papers will be very meaningful and will add to the existing body of knowledge and advance it. Such events are always kind of inflection points in the rate of learning, at least for the local community, because it expands everybody's perspective and it gives a kind of cross-fertilization of ideas. So I welcome this event. I congratulate the organizers, the department, the institute for supporting it, and I'm sure you'll all have a great time over the next few days. And I thank you once again for welcoming me, and much success. Thank you.
Next channel,